Imagine walking into a crowded room filled with strangers. The music is loud, conversations overlap, and people seem to be effortlessly mingling. Some individuals move from group to group, their energy growing with each interaction, while others linger on the sidelines, observing and waiting for the right moment to speak, or perhaps hoping they won't have to at all. Now, picture yourself in this scenario. Are you the one confidently introducing yourself, enjoying the buzz of social interaction? Or do you feel an immediate urge to retreat, scanning the room for a quiet corner, or pulling out your phone to avoid small talk? Maybe you're somewhere in between, comfortable in social situations, but also needing time alone to recharge. Most of us have identified with one of these tendencies, labeling ourselves as introverts or extroverts, assuming that we fit neatly into one category. But what if I told you that's not entirely true? What if the way you have seen yourself all these years is incomplete, and the categories of introvert and extrovert are not as rigid as you might think? Here's the surprising truth. No one is 100% introvert or 100% extrovert. If you have ever felt like you don't fully belong to either category, you are not alone. In fact, you might be something in between. This realization comes from Carl Jung, one of the most influential figures in psychology, who proposed a theory that changed how we understand personality. In the early 20th century, Jung argued that introversion and extroversion are not simply about being social or shy, but about how we direct our mental energy. Even more surprisingly, he believed that most people don't fit neatly into just one category. Jung's perspective was much more complex than the simple idea of introverts being quiet and reserved, and extroverts being social and outgoing. He wasn't just talking about behavior in social situations, but about the way we direct our mental energy and how we process the world around us. Introverts, according to Jung, direct their energy inward, toward their inner world, thoughts, emotions, and ideas. For them, this internal world feels more real and significant than the external one. They seek solitude not because they dislike people, but because they find deep thinking and reflection to be energizing. They process events internally, often replaying conversations and contemplating their emotions long after an event has passed. Extroverts, on the other hand, direct their energy outward, toward the external world, people, conversations, and new experiences. To them, the external world feels more vivid and engaging. They are energized by action, social interaction, and external stimulation, processing events as they happen and responding to their environment in real time. However, Jung did not believe that anyone was purely an introvert or purely an extrovert. The common tendency to label ourselves and others in absolute terms, "I'm an introvert, I don't like big social gatherings," or "she's an extrovert, she loves being the center of attention," is incomplete according to Jung. In reality, no one fits entirely into either category. Imagine two people at a party. One is the life of the crowd, jumping from group to group, laughing and telling stories. The other is sitting quietly in the corner, engaged in a deep conversation with one or two close friends. It would be easy to label them as an extrovert and an introvert. But what if I told you that the loud social butterfly might need hours of solitude to recover the next day? Or that the quiet one might love performing on stage in front of thousands? Jung argued that introversion and extroversion exist on a spectrum, and most people fall somewhere in between, rather than being at the extreme ends. The human psyche, Jung believed, is not static. It's a constant push and pull between these two energies. For many of us, this internal struggle is familiar, feeling exhausted after too much social interaction, but also restless after too much solitude. Jung believed that as we mature, we begin to integrate both introverted and extroverted tendencies into our personalities. Someone who was a shy, bookish child might grow into a confident public speaker, but still value their alone time. A highly social teenager might later discover a love for deep introspection. We don't just stay introverts or extroverts our entire lives. We evolve, adapt, and balance both sides. This brings us to the concept of the ambivert, a term that represents those who naturally fall somewhere in the middle of the introversion-extroversion spectrum. Ambiverts can shift between these tendencies depending on the situation. They can enjoy social gatherings, but also feel the need for alone time to recharge. They might be outgoing in certain contexts, but reserved in others. The ambivert is someone who balances both introverted and extroverted traits. Unlike the classic view that people are either introverts or extroverts, Ambiverts naturally shift between these tendencies depending on the situation. Carl Jung believed that while most people have a dominant tendency, either introversion or extroversion, their personalities are not rigidly fixed. Instead, they can adapt and move fluidly along the spectrum. If you've ever enjoyed social gatherings but later needed to be alone, or if you've engaged in deep, meaningful conversations, but also appreciated light small talk, you might be an ambivert. Ambiverts are uniquely adaptable because they have both introverted and extroverted tendencies. They can navigate different social environments with ease, knowing when to listen and when to speak. They can work well alone, but also excel in group settings. This flexibility gives them an advantage in fields like leadership, sales, public speaking, and creative work. Studies show that ambiverts often outperform both introverts and extroverts in professions requiring social interaction because they can naturally adjust their approach based on the situation. Understanding whether you lean more toward introversion, extroversion, or ambiversion can help you better navigate social interactions and make informed decisions about your personal and professional life. To determine where you fall, consider your energy levels and preferences. Do you prefer socializing in moderation rather than constantly? Do you enjoy alone time, but not to the point of feeling isolated? Can you switch between being outgoing and reserved depending on the context? Do you feel drained by too much social interaction, but also restless after too much solitude? If you find yourself agreeing with these statements, you likely have ambiverted tendencies. Jung's bigger message was that personality is not about rigid labels. He emphasized that personality is fluid, shaped by both natural tendencies and external forces like environment, experiences, and life circumstances. Many of us have been conditioned to think of ourselves in absolute terms. I'm an introvert, so I must avoid social situations. Or, I'm an extrovert, so I must always be outgoing. But personality, Jung argued, changes with time, environment, and life experiences. His work suggests that instead of labeling ourselves, we should embrace the dynamic nature of our psyche. This leads to a deeper question. If we are not purely introverted or extroverted, what does this say about our development as individuals? Carl Jung believed that personality is shaped by both nature and nurture. While we may have an innate tendency toward introversion or extroversion, our environment plays a significant role in shaping who we become. A child raised in a loud social environment may develop extroverted tendencies, even if they are naturally inclined toward introversion. Conversely, a child in a quiet, reflective home might lean toward introversion, even if they possess extroverted traits. Society, too, has expectations about personality, and these expectations can influence how we behave. In Western cultures, extroversion is often valued, while in many Eastern cultures, traits like introspection and quiet reflection are more highly regarded. Jung believed that true self-awareness comes from understanding how these external forces shape our internal world. In conclusion, Carl Jung's work challenges us to move beyond rigid personality labels. Our personalities are not fixed. They are fluid and adaptable, shaped by both our natural tendencies and the environments we grow up in. Instead of asking whether we are introverts or extroverts, we should ask ourselves what energizes us, what drains us, and how we can use this knowledge to live more fulfilling lives. Personality is not a limitation. It's a tool. By understanding ourselves deeply, we can navigate the world around us with greater awareness, confidence, and balance.